I now did the hair and makeup of the deceased and occasionally gave them baths. "Why are you being an airplane?" Alfonso asked. "An airplane?" I didn't know what he meant. "You are," he said, raising a hand in the air. "Flying over me, watching me." "Oh, helicoptering," I said. "Yes, why are you doing this?" I stared at him, not wanting to tell him the truth, that he'd made so many mistakes lately I feared for him, and for me. Not only could we lose our jobs, but grieving relatives could be litigious. I swallowed. "Sorry." I turned to the back of the room and plodded toward the computer. There was always paperwork to do. As I shimmied onto the high stool by the counter, Alfonso ripped the sheet from the body on the table. I did my best to keep my eyes averted so he wouldn't accuse me of being an airplane again. The swing of metal sounded as he brandished a scalpel. The embalming machine motor purred to life, and the scent of formaldehyde filled the air. It wasn't until the strangled sob that had escaped his lips all too often lately met my ears that I glanced up. I gasped. He'd raised a scalpel above the body on the gurney as if preparing to plunge it into its chest. That, however, wasn't what had made me gasp. My horror wasn't due to the violence about to be inflicted on a poor, innocent corpse. My horror was due to the color of its skin. The man on the table was as white as a ghost. "Alfonso, no!" I yelped and darted toward him. I grabbed his hand just before the scalpel struck. The knife flew from his grasp and bounced across the cold tile floor. He jerked away from me. I lost my balance. And, to add one more horror to the already horrible event, I fell headlong into the body. Although I knew better, my hands shot forward to protect my face. A split second later, the fingers of my right hand were tangled in the man's matted, sandy brown hair, my left resting on his chest. I groaned. "Imogene, what is your problem?" Alfonso didn't sound the least bit sorry that he'd thrown me onto our client. I straightened and stared at my hands in something like a state of shock. This is a good moment to mention that I have a strange ability. Some call it a gift. I beg to differ. Normally, when I touch the hair of the deceased, a blast of their final life sensations courses through me. "Imogene?" Alfonso repeated. I dragged my gaze from my hands to his face. He looked irritated, but I barely registered the expression. I was too confused. Granted, the sensations I get from a corpse don't last long, but I'm aware of them for at least an hour. Unless the person was murdered, of course. If they'd been murdered, I was in for it. Turns out there is life after death. I don't understand all that entails, but I do know that the murder victims hang around until their killers are exposed. And for some unknown reason, they expect me to expose them. I'd been emotionally manipulated, coerced into doing things I'd normally never do, made depressed, inexplicably cold, and incredibly itchy often enough that I never willingly touched the dead without a nice thick shield of latex between us. But this man's hair had no effect on me. There was no lingering emotions, no otherworldly sensations. I felt nothing. "What?" I finally said. "Why did you implode my work?" "What?" I said again, too dazed to translate. "Implode. Stop. Get in the way." "Impede," I mumbled, not caring if I insulted him. "Implode, impede. It is the same, no?" "No." He growled in frustration. "Why did you grab my hand?" I waved at the man on the table. "This isn't Jake Waring." Alfonso narrowed his eyes. "Of course it is." "No." I grabbed the folder and flopped it open to the photo of the real Mr. Waring. "This," I tapped a finger on the picture, "is Jake Waring." Alfonso's eyes narrowed even more. He grabbed the folder from my hand and squinted at the contents. I gestured to the man on the table. "This man is nowhere near 82, and he's white." "Maybe someone put the wrong picture in this folder?" I didn't bother responding to Alfonso's feeble attempt to save face. Instead, I strode to the walk-in refrigerator at the rear of the embalming room, threw open the door, and pointed inside dramatically. "Mr. Waring is right there."